When Caleb Rourke dragged his dead uncle's wardrobe into the house, he thought it was just heavy wood and old memories. But when he found the hidden compartment, everything changed. Inside were maps, a ledger, and names of people still living in town, people with power. The documents pointed to his ridge, to buried drums, to decades of silence. His wife had died 3 years before, and she'd spent every summer teaching by the spring that flowed from that ridge. Now he had a choice: stay quiet and keep his land, or speak up and lose everything. Subscribe and tell me where you're watching from, because what Caleb found under his property was never supposed to see daylight. Caleb Rourke backed his truck to the porch and studied the wardrobe through the tailgate. Uncle Whit's estate lawyer had called it a bequest of sentimental value. The thing stood 7 feet tall and weighed more than any cabinet should. He wrapped a furniture dolly strap under the base and pulled. The wardrobe shifted an inch, then stopped. Caleb reset his grip and tried again. This time it scraped forward with a low groan. "Easy now," he said to no one. His late wife had refinished the hallway floor 3 summers before the cancer. He would not gouge her work. He slid cardboard under the dolly wheels and took his time. The sewing room waited at the end of the hall. Boxes of her fabric still lined the shelves. Caleb had not moved them. He positioned the wardrobe against the far wall and stepped back. The piece was handsome in a utilitarian way. Oak panels, brass hinges, corners joined with perfect dovetails. Uncle Whit had built furniture for 60 years. This looked older than most of his work. Caleb opened the doors. Cedar smell rolled out. Wire hangers clinked on the rod. He checked the back panel. Solid. He rapped his knuckles against the wood. It returned a dull thud. Something rattled inside. Caleb froze. He rapped again. The rattle came from lower down, beneath the floor of the cabinet. He crouched and ran his fingers along the baseboard trim. No access panel. No visible seam. He stood and stared at the wardrobe. The hallway light made the brass hinges glow. Shadows filled the empty interior. Caleb felt foolish for expecting answers from a piece of furniture. But the rattle had been real. He closed the doors and locked them with the small brass key the lawyer had included. His hands smelled of old wood and dust. He washed them at the kitchen sink and poured coffee he did not want. The wardrobe stood in the sewing room, silent, heavy, wrong. Caleb returned to the doorway and looked at it again. The thing did not belong in his house. It had arrived with weight that felt deliberate. Uncle Whit had built nothing by accident. Morning would bring better light. He would inspect the joinery then. He would find the seam or the panel or whatever hid that rattle. For now, he left the door open and the hall light on. The wardrobe waited in the glow. Caleb entered the sewing room at dawn with a flashlight and a thin putty knife. He opened the wardrobe doors and studied the interior again. The back panel showed no obvious hardware. He ran the flashlight beam along every joint. The side panels were true. The top corners were tight. Then he noticed a dowel pin near the lower left corner. It sat flush with the surface, but the grain did not match the surrounding wood. He pressed it. Nothing. He twisted it. The dowel turned a quarter rotation and stopped with a soft click. The back panel flexed. Caleb inserted the putty knife into the seam and pried gently. The panel swung inward on hidden hinges. A narrow compartment opened behind it. Inside were 3 rolled plats, a railroad switch key, and a cloth-bound ledger. Dust covered everything. He lifted the ledger carefully and set it on the sewing table. The cover read, Containment Log 1986-1989 in faded ink. Caleb opened it. Names filled the left column. Parcel numbers filled the right. Some names he recognized. Earl Pinson, Ruth Ann Kelly's late husband. Others he had seen on county signs. Numbers followed each entry. Tonnage, he guessed, or drum counts. The final column held dates spanning 3 years. He unrolled one of the plats. His ridge appeared in blue survey lines. Red marks circled 3 parcels. 2 of them bordered his fence line. The third sat on his property. Caleb looked at the switch key. Heavy iron, worn smooth. Railroad men used them to open utility boxes and right-of-way gates. He had seen similar keys hanging in the depot museum. His phone buzzed. A text from the sawmill foreman. "Running late, 15 minutes. Caleb rolled the plats and returned them to the compartment. He closed the false back and locked the wardrobe. The ledger went into his truck under the seat. He called Mara Ellison at the county clerk's office. She answered on the 3rd ring. "Mara, it's Caleb Rourke," he said. "I need to look at some parcel records. Old surveys from the 80s. "What parcels?" she asked. 3 on the North Ridge. I have the numbers written down." Mara paused. "Courthouse records are public. Come by after lunch." "Thanks," Caleb said. He hung up and stared at the wardrobe. Uncle Whit had hidden these documents for a reason. The dates matched the years when the co-op plant had closed. The names matched people who still lived in town. Caleb locked the sewing room door and pocketed the key. Mara Ellison met Caleb at the clerk's counter. She wore reading glasses on a chain, and her expression gave nothing away. "Parcel numbers?" she asked. Caleb slid a paper across the counter. Mara glanced at it, and her jaw tightened. "These are old realignments," she said. "Late 80s. We have microfiche in the back." "Realignments from what?" Caleb asked. "County liability transfers? Plant closure years?" Mara removed her glasses. "Why are you asking?" "I inherited some documents," Caleb said. "They reference these parcels. I want to see what changed." Mara studied him. "Policy says I can pull the records, but you view them here. No copies without approval." "Understood," Caleb said. She disappeared into the archive room. Caleb waited. 2 clerks typed at desks behind the counter. Neither looked up. Mara returned with a folder and a microfiche sleeve. She led him to a reader in the corner. 15 minutes, she said. "That's all I can give you." The plats appeared on screen. Parcel boundaries had shifted in 1987. Previous ownership showed the co-op plant. New ownership showed County Maintenance Trust. The signature at the bottom belonged to Earl Pinson, County Commissioner. Caleb photographed the screen with his phone. Mara turned sharply. "No phones," she said. "Sorry," Caleb said. He deleted the photo in front of her. She leaned closer. "What documents did you inherit?" "A ledger," Caleb said. "Names and numbers. Some match what I'm seeing here." Mara's voice dropped. "Whose names?" "Earl Pinson's is one," Caleb said. She stepped back. "I can't discuss active commissioners." "The dates are from 30 years ago," Caleb said. "Doesn't matter." Mara glanced toward the other clerks. "Your time's up." Caleb stood. "Thanks for the help." "Mr. Rourke," Mara said quietly, "if you have original documents, be careful who you show them to." He met her eyes. "Why?" "Because some records were realigned for reasons people don't revisit," she said. Caleb left the courthouse. The afternoon sun felt too bright. He sat in his truck and opened the ledger again. Earl Pinson's name appeared 6 times. He decided to walk his fence line at dusk. Caleb followed the northern fence as the sun dropped behind the ridge. Oak shadows stretched across the slope. He reached the parcel boundary marked on the plat and stopped. A survey pin stood embedded in a limestone outcrop. The stamped code matched the ledger. He crouched and brushed dirt from the metal. The pin looked newer than it should. Someone had replaced it within the last decade. A faint chemical smell drifted up from the slope below. Caleb stood and scanned the trees. Recent rain had softened the ground. Water pooled in a shallow depression 30 yards down. He walked toward it. The smell grew stronger. Gasoline or solvent, he could not tell which. The depression opened into a sinkhole ringed with limestone. Water trickled into the dark center. Caleb heard a truck engine. He turned. Tomas Vale's pickup rolled to a stop on the access road above. Tomas leaned out the window. "You all right down there?" Tomas called. "Yeah," Caleb called back. "Just checking the property line." Tomas climbed out and walked down. He wore his volunteer firefighter jacket. His boots crunched on wet leaves. "Storm last night opened some sinkholes," Tomas said. "Karst does that. You got cavities under here you don't know about." "Ever seen one smell this way?" Caleb asked. Tomas knelt and sniffed. His face changed. "No, that's not natural." They stood in silence. A low hum carried from farther up the slope. Mechanical, steady. "You got equipment up there?" Tomas asked. "No," Caleb said. "Nothing but trees." Tomas looked at the sinkhole again. "You should mark this spot. If that smell gets worse, call the county." "I will," Caleb said. Tomas walked back to his truck. Caleb waited until the engine faded before climbing the slope toward the hum. Brush thickened as he moved uphill. The sound grew louder. He pushed through a stand of scrub cedar and stopped. A steel hatch sat flush with the ground. Chain and padlock secured it. The hatch measured 3 feet across. Industrial hardware, not residential. Caleb knelt and touched the metal. Warm. The hum came from below. He stood and backed away. His phone had no signal this far up. He marked the location on his mental map and returned to the fence line. The smell lingered in his nose all the way back to the truck. Caleb returned at dawn with a camera and a notebook. He photographed the hatch from multiple angles. The padlock was new. The chain showed no rust. He knelt and read the serial numbers stamped into the hatch edge. He wrote them down. Then he leaned close and listened. The hum had stopped. Silence pressed against his ears. He stood and scanned the slope. No tracks, no tire marks. The brush around the hatch had been trimmed recently. Someone maintained this site. The sinkhole below showed the same chemical smell. Caleb photographed the water pooling at the rim. He capped his pen and stepped back. His phone buzzed. A text from the sawmill. "Shipment delayed. Half crew today." Caleb typed a reply and pocketed the phone. Then he smelled it. Faint but present. Fumes rising from the hatch seam. He moved upwind and waited. The smell faded. He approached the hatch again, and the odor returned. Petroleum. Solvent. Something industrial. He called Mara Ellison. She answered after 4 rings. "It's Caleb," he said. "Can we talk? Off the record?" "When?" Mara asked. "Tonight. Coffee?" "Not the diner," she said. "My place. 7. "Thanks," Caleb said. He hung up and took one last photo of the hatch. Then he walked back to his truck. The ledger sat under the seat. The maps were rolled beside it. He drove to the sawmill and worked his shift. The crew moved lumber in silence. No one asked why he looked distracted. At 6:30, Caleb left the mill and drove to Mara's house. She met him at the door with coffee already poured. "Show me what you have," she said. Mara spread the maps across her kitchen table. She traced the parcel lines with her finger and stopped at the red circles. "These match the realignment filings," she said. "County took liability from the co-op when the plant closed. Official reason was infrastructure maintenance." "What's the real reason?" Caleb asked. "Probably cost shifting," Mara said. "The co-op went under. Someone had to own the access roads and utility easements." Caleb opened the ledger. "These names are all locals. Why are they in a containment log?" Mara read the entries. Her face paled. This shows tonnage, dates, disposal authorizations. She looked up. Where did your uncle get this? I don't know, Caleb said. He worked for the railroad. Maybe he kept records. Or someone gave them to him, Mara said. She closed the ledger. You found something on your property, didn't you? Caleb told her about the hatch. The smell. The hum. Mara listened without interrupting. You need to leave it alone, she said. It's on my land, Caleb said, and it's probably a utility easement you don't control. Mara stood and poured more coffee. The realignment transferred access rights to the county. You own the surface, but not what's underneath. What's underneath? Caleb asked. Mara sat down. I pulled some old minutes after you visited. Emergency session in 1987. The commissioner authorized temporary containment on unspecified parcels. The vote was 4-1. Containment of what? Caleb asked. It doesn't say, Mara said. The language is careful. Temporary, monitoring, remediation pending. 30 years is not temporary, Caleb said. No, Mara said quietly. It's not. They sat in silence. The clock over the stove ticked. Outside, a dog barked twice and stopped. Earl Pinson signed the authorization, Mara said. He was co-op manager before he ran for commissioner. He knows what's in that ledger. Then I ask him, Caleb said. You'll lose, Mara said. He has lawyers. You have a dead uncle's paperwork. I have a hatch on my property, Caleb said, and I want to know what's underneath it. Mara looked at him. Then we document everything first. Photos, dates, witnesses. If you open that hatch without a plan, he'll bury you in procedure. Caleb nodded. Tonight? Tomorrow, Mara said. Daylight. And we bring Tomas. Tomas arrived at the hatch site with a gas monitor and rope. Mara carried a camera. Caleb had bolt cutters in his pack. We're not breaking it, Mara said. Not yet. Then what are we doing? Caleb asked. Testing, Tomas said. He activated the monitor. If this thing chirps, we back off. They approached the hatch together. Tomas knelt and clipped the monitor to his belt. He gripped the padlock and pulled. The chain rattled but held. It's not welded, Tomas said. Whoever locked it wants access. Mara photographed the hatch. Caleb wrote down the serial numbers again. Tomas tested the air near the seam. Readings are elevated, Tomas said. Not dangerous yet, but something's venting. Can we open it a crack? Caleb asked. Tomas looked at Mara. She nodded. He inserted a pry bar under the hatch edge and lifted. The metal groaned. Air hissed out. The monitor chirped twice. Tomas dropped the bar and stepped back. The hatch settled with a clang. The monitor's screen flashed red. Volatile organics, Tomas said. High concentration. We're not going in there without respirators. Mara lowered her camera. What's in those drums? Drums? Caleb asked. I saw the edge of one, Tomas said. Rusted, 50-gallon size. There's more than one down there. They stood in silence. Wind moved through the oaks. The hatch sat closed at their feet. We seal it, Mara said. We document what we found. Then we decide what happens next. Caleb knelt beside the hatch. He pressed his palm against the warm metal. His land. His wife's land. And beneath it, something no one had admitted for 30 years. I'm not walking away from this, he said. I'm not asking you to, Mara said. But we do it right, no heroics. Tomas checked the monitor again. Readings are dropping. The hatch is sealed tight enough. He looked at Caleb. Whatever's down there, it's been there a long time. Another few days won't change anything. Caleb stood. Then we come back with a plan. They walked back to the trucks. Tomas loaded his gear. Mara uploaded photos to her laptop. Caleb leaned against the tailgate and stared at the ridge. The hatch was still there. The smell was still there, and now he knew what waited underneath. Earl Pinson appeared at Caleb's gate 3 days later. 2 men stood behind him. Both wore county maintenance uniforms. Caleb met them at the driveway. "Can I help you, Commissioner?" "I hope so," Earl said. He smiled. "I understand you've been exploring your property, found some old infrastructure." "It's on my land," Caleb said. "Surface rights, yes," Earl said, "but the easement is county-maintained. Has been since the realignment." "I didn't authorize any easement," Caleb said. "Your uncle did," Earl said, "when he sold the timber rights in '89. The easement transferred with the deed." Caleb felt his jaw tighten. "What's in those drums?" Earl's smile thinned. "Utility protections, monitoring equipment, nothing that concerns you." "It's on my land," Caleb said again. "And we're offering to buy it," Earl said. He pulled a folded paper from his jacket. "Twice the assessed value. Closes in 30 days. You can move to town. Nice ranch house near the school." "I'm not selling," Caleb said. Earl unfolded the paper. "The offer is generous, Mr. Rourke, especially given the review pending on the Sawmills County contract." The threat landed clean. Caleb's crew depended on that contract. His mortgage depended on his job. "You're saying if I don't sell, you'll kill the contract," Caleb said. "I'm saying the contract review is standard procedure," Earl said, "and sometimes complications arise when property disputes interfere with county operations." The 2 men behind Earl shifted their weight. One carried a clipboard, the other had a camera. Caleb stepped forward. "Get off my property." Earl folded the paper. "Think about it. You have 72 hours. "I don't need 72 seconds, Caleb said. "The answer is no." Earl's smile disappeared. He turned and walked, back to the county truck. The 2 men followed. The truck backed down the drive and stopped at the road. Earl leaned out the window. "Your uncle knew when to walk away. You should learn from him." The truck pulled onto the pavement and drove south. Caleb stood at the gate until the engine sound faded. Then he pulled out his phone and called Mara. "They came," he said. "Earl and 2 witnesses. Offered to buy me out." "What did you say?" Mara asked. "I told him no." Silence on the line. Then Mara's voice came back, steady and quiet. "Then we move fast," she said, "because he's not going to ask again." Mara's garage smelled of motor oil and old paper. Caleb spread the plats across her workbench while she copied them with her phone camera. "We need a legal path," Mara said. "Photos, recordings, evidence chain. Nothing they can dismiss as trespassing or tampering." "Earl knows we have the ledger," Caleb said. "He suspects," Mara said. "He doesn't know what else we found." She opened a file box from her car. "I pulled emergency session minutes from 1987. Took 3 hours in the basement archive." She handed Caleb a photocopy. The header read, "Closed Session, Environmental Compliance." 4 commissioners voted yes, Mara said. 1 voted no. The authorization granted temporary containment rights on unspecified parcels pending state remediation approval. "Did the state approve?" Caleb asked. "There's no follow-up filing," Mara said. "The authorization just stayed in effect." Caleb read the motion language. Temporary, monitoring, remediation pending, every word carefully chosen. "These match the ledger entries," he said. "Exactly," Mara said. "Someone documented what the vote covered up." "My uncle," Caleb said. "Maybe," Mara said. "Or someone gave him the records before they disappeared." She photographed the minutes. "Either way, we have a paper trail now." "What about the hatch?" Caleb asked. "We film it," Mara said. "Controlled lift, air readings, drum count if we can see them. Tomas brings his firefighter gear. We don't touch anything. We don't remove anything. We document and seal it back." "When?" Caleb asked. "Tomorrow morning," Mara said. "Before Earl moves first." Caleb nodded. He rolled the plats and secured them with rubber bands. Mara closed the file box and locked it in her trunk. "We're past the point of walking away," she said. "I know," Caleb said. "I mean for both of us," Mara said. "Once we film that hatch, Earl will know I helped. I'll lose my job." Caleb met her eyes. "You don't have to do this." "Yes, I do," Mara said. "My father worked at that plant. He signed off on waste disposal. His name's probably in that ledger." "Is it?" Caleb asked. "I don't know," Mara said. "I haven't looked that far. But if it is, I need to know what he was part of." They stood in the dim garage. A single bulb hung overhead. Outside, a car passed on the street. "Tomorrow at dawn," Mara said. "I'll call Tomas," Caleb said. He drove home through the dark. The ridge waited. The hatch waited. And beneath it, 30 years of silence. Tomas knelt beside the hatch with his respirator mask pushed up on his forehead. Mara held the camera steady. Caleb gripped the pry bar. "On 3, Tomas said. "Slow lift, 6 inches max." Caleb counted. They lifted together. The hatch rose with a metal groan. Stale air pushed out. The gas monitor chirped once and held steady. Mara leaned forward and aimed the camera into the gap. "I see conduits, manifold piping, and drums, at least 4 visible." "Get the serials if you can," Tomas said. Mara zoomed the lens. "Got 2 numbers. The drums are corroded. Labels mostly gone." Caleb held the pry bar steady. His arms burned. Tomas watched the monitor screen. "Readings are climbing," Tomas said. "We have about 30 seconds." Mara panned the camera left. "There's a placard on the manifold. Metal tag. I can almost read it." 20 seconds, Tomas said. "Hold it," Mara said. She adjusted focus. The placard filled her screen. Faded text appeared. "Temporary containment. Monitoring authorized E. Pinson, County Commissioner, 1987. "Got it," Mara said. "Down," Tomas said. They lowered the hatch. It sealed with a solid clunk. The monitor chirp faded to silence. Mara reviewed the footage on her camera screen. "Clear image. Date stamp shows today. GPS coordinates embedded." "That's evidence," Caleb said. "That's the start," Mara said. "Now we check downstream." They walked the slope to the sinkhole. Water pooled at the rim, brown and still. Tomas knelt and ran a test strip through the surface. "Chemical content elevated," he said. "Not drinking water, but not immediately toxic either." "Where does this drain?" Mara asked. "Cave system," Tomas said. "Feeds the spring below your property. The spring feeds the creek. The creek runs through town." Caleb felt his stomach tighten. "How long has it been draining?" "No way to know without sediment testing," Tomas said. "Could be years, could be decades." Mara photographed the sinkhole. "If it rains hard, this overflow carries whatever's in those drums downstream." "It's already carrying something," Tomas said. He held up the test strip. "pH is off. Dissolved metals present." They stood at the edge of the sinkhole. Wind moved through the trees. Somewhere below, water flowed through limestone passages toward the spring. "We need rain," Mara said. "Why?" Caleb asked. "Because we need visible contamination," Mara said. "Something people can see. Right now it's just data and old paperwork. We need proof that moves." Tomas checked his phone. "Weather says a system's coming. Slow mover. 3 days of steady rain starting tomorrow night." "Then we watch the spring," Mara said. Caleb looked at the hatch, the manifold beneath it, the drums waiting in the dark. "Earl knows we're up here," he said. "Let him know," Mara said. "We're not doing anything illegal. We're documenting a hazard on private property. He'll still come? Caleb said. Probably, Mara said, but now we have footage he doesn't know about. They walked back to the trucks. Caleb locked the pry bar in his toolbox. Mara secured her camera in a padded case. Tomas pulled off his respirator. That placard is smoking gun material. Earl's name, county authorization, temporary containment that never ended. Unless he says the footage is fake, Caleb said. He can say whatever he wants, Mara said. The placard is still down there, and if we file this footage with the state, they'll send inspectors. Earl can't stop that. Caleb nodded. He felt tired, steady. The line had been crossed. No turning back. Rain starts tomorrow, Tomas said. We meet at the spring? Dawn, Mara said. Ruth Ann Kelly knocked on Caleb's door that evening. She held a casserole dish covered with foil. Thought you might need a meal, she said. You've been busy on the ridge. Thank you, Caleb said. He took the dish. It was still warm. Ruth Ann smiled, but her eyes held something else. Worry. Caution. I'll get the dish back to you next week, Caleb said. No rush, Ruth Ann said. She turned to leave, then stopped. Caleb, be careful up there. The old plant property has history people don't discuss. What kind of history? Caleb asked. Ruth Ann looked at her hands. The kind that took things from people, things they didn't count until later. What things? Caleb asked. Health, Ruth Ann said quietly. Years. Some people got sick in the 90s. Different kinds of sick. Doctors couldn't say why. Caleb felt cold. Did anyone report it? Report what? Ruth Ann asked. No one could prove anything, and some families got help afterward. Quiet help. Mortgage payoffs, medical bills covered. By who? Caleb asked. The County Assistance Fund, Ruth Ann said, managed by the commissioners. She stepped off the porch. Caleb followed her to the driveway. Ruth Ann, do you know what's in those drums? He asked. She stopped. No, but my husband signed disposal orders when he worked for the co-op. He didn't talk about it. When he got sick in '98, the county paid for his treatment. We didn't ask questions. I'm sorry, Caleb said. So am I, Ruth Ann said. But I kept records, not much. Just obituaries. People who worked at the plant, people who lived near the spring. She met his eyes. There's a pattern if you look. Can I see them? Caleb asked. Ruth Ann walked to her car and opened the glove box. She pulled out a manila envelope. I clipped these over 20 years, she said. I told myself I was just remembering neighbors, but I was counting what couldn't be admitted. She handed him the envelope. Caleb opened it. Newspaper clippings filled the interior. Obituaries, short biographies, dates of death. Some had notes in Ruth Ann's handwriting. Plant worker, 1924 to 1989. Lived on Creek, 1962-2001. Cancer, age 54. Why are you showing me this? Caleb asked. Because you're asking questions, Ruth Ann said, and because my husband's name is probably in whatever records you found. I want to know if he hurt people. He might not have known, Caleb said. That doesn't matter, Ruth Ann said. He still signed the orders. She got in her car. Caleb stood holding the casserole and the envelope. Be careful, Caleb, Ruth Ann said through the window. People who ask too many questions lose things. Sometimes they lose everything. She backed down the driveway and drove away. Caleb went inside and set the casserole on the counter. He opened the envelope again. 43 obituaries. 11 mentioned cancer. 7 mentioned respiratory illness. 4 mentioned kidney failure. All of them lived within 2 miles of the spring. Caleb sat at the kitchen table and read every clipping. Ruth Ann's notes were careful, factual, no speculation, just names and dates and proximity to the plant. His late wife had taught school fundraisers by the spring pavilion. The memory made his chest hurt. He folded the clippings and returned them to the envelope. Then he called Mara. "Ruth Ann just gave me 20 years of obituaries," he said. "All plant workers are people who lived near the spring." "How many?" Mara asked. 43, Caleb said. Silence on the line. Then Mara spoke. "That's not random," she said. "No," Caleb said. "It's not." The storm settled over the county like a wet blanket. Rain drummed the ridge for 2 days. Caleb watched water rise in the sinkhole and disappear into the karst below. On the 3rd morning, he met Thomas at the spring. The water ran faster than usual, clear at first glance, but when Thomas dipped a test cup, rainbow sheen spread across the surface. "There it is," Thomas said. Mara arrived 10 minutes later. She photographed the sheen from multiple angles. Caleb filmed it with his phone. "This is what we needed," Mara said. "Visible contamination. Time-stamped, documented." "It's still just a sheen," Caleb said. "Earl can argue it's runoff from anywhere." "Not with the footage we already have," Mara said. "The hatch, the drums, the placard. Now this, it's a chain of evidence." Thomas sealed a water sample in a lab bottle. "I'll send this to the state. Unofficial test. Friend in the ag department." A truck engine sounded on the access road. They turned. Deputy Lane Murdoch's cruiser rolled to a stop above the spring. Murdoch stepped out. He wore his uniform and a raincoat. His face gave nothing away. "Morning," Murdoch said. "Deputy," Caleb said. "Got a call about trespassing on county utility easements," Murdoch said. "Someone said you've been interfering with posted protections." "This is my property," Caleb said. "Surface rights," Murdoch said. "Easement access is county-maintained. You're required to stay clear of marked infrastructure." "There are no marks," Caleb said. Murdoch pulled a folded paper from his pocket. "As of yesterday, there are. County posted notices on 3 parcels. Your ridge is one of them." He handed Caleb the paper. Official letterhead. Access restriction. Authorized personnel only. "When was this posted?" Caleb asked. "Yesterday afternoon," Murdoch said. "Commissioner Pinson authorized it. Emergency order." "Emergency for who?" Mara asked. Murdoch looked at her. "For public safety. Contamination risk at old plant sites." "Then why hasn't the county secured the site?" Mara asked. "Why is there an unlocked hatch venting chemicals?" Murdoch's jaw tightened. "I don't write the orders. I enforce them." "You know what's in those drums," Caleb said. Murdoch said nothing. He returned to his cruiser and opened the door. Then he stopped and turned back. "Someone ordered new locks for that hatch," he said quietly. "Contractors coming tomorrow. Heavy equipment. Permanent seal." "They're burying it," Mara said. "I didn't say that," Murdoch said. He got in the cruiser. "Stay off the easement. Next time I won't just warn you." He drove away. Rain pattered on the spring's surface. The sheen remained. Caleb looked at Mara. "They're going to seal it before anyone can inspect it." "Not if we file tonight," Mara said. She pulled out her phone. "I have contacts at the State Environmental Office, and I know a reporter at the regional paper." "Earl will know it came from us," Thomas said. "He already knows," Mara said. "Murdoch just told us they're moving to cover it up. That means they're scared." Caleb felt rain soak through his jacket. The spring ran fast below them. The sheen spread wider. "Do it," he said. Mara started typing. Thomas sealed another water sample. Caleb stood at the edge of the spring and watched the water flow toward town. Somewhere downstream, children played at the pavilion. Families filled water bottles. Fishermen cast lines, all of them drinking from the same source. Mara's badge stopped working on Thursday morning. She swiped it at the courthouse entrance. The light flashed red. She tried again. Red. The security guard at the desk looked uncomfortable. "Ma'am, you need to check with HR." "I work here," Mara said. "I know," the guard said, "but your access was suspended this morning. Director's order." Mara felt anger rise. She swallowed it and walked to the HR office. The director met her at the door. "We need to discuss your employment status," the director said. "Why is my badge disabled?" Mara asked. "Pending review," the director said. "There are concerns about unauthorized access to archived records." "I'm the county clerk," Mara said. "Archives are my job." "Closed session records require approval," the director said. "You pulled multiple files without authorization." "They're public records," Mara said. "Emergency session minutes are restricted," the director said. "You know that." Mara stepped closer. "Who filed the complaint?" The director looked away. "I can't discuss that." "Earl Pinson," Mara said. "Ms. Ellison, I'm placing you on administrative leave," the director said. "Effective immediately, 2 weeks, pending investigation." "Investigation of what?" Mara asked. "Misuse of county resources," the director said. "Disclosure of confidential materials. Possible coordination with outside parties to damage county operations." Mara laughed. It came out bitter. "Outside parties? You mean Caleb Rourke?" "I mean anyone attempting to interfere with county infrastructure," the director said. "There's toxic waste on private property," Mara said. "Documented, recorded. That's not interference. That's public safety." "That's above my authority," the director said. "You'll receive formal notice by mail. Please leave the building." Mara stood in the hallway. Other clerks watched from their desks. No one spoke. She turned and walked out. The security guard looked at the floor as she passed. Outside, rain had started again. Mara sat in her car and called Caleb. "They suspended me," she said. "For what?" Caleb asked. "Accessing emergency session records," Mara said. "Earl filed a complaint. They're calling it misuse of county resources." "Can they do that?" Caleb asked. "They just did," Mara said. She heard Caleb breathe. "I'm sorry." "Don't be," Mara said. "We knew this was coming." "What now?" Caleb asked. "Now we finish it," Mara said. "I've got copies of everything at home. They can't take those." "Are you sure?" Caleb asked. "This is your career." "My career was built on records people kept honest," Mara said. "If I walk away now, I'm part of the cover-up." She hung up and started the car. Rain streaked the windshield. She drove home through empty streets. At her house, she found an envelope wedged in the doorframe. No return address. She opened it. Inside was a contractor invoice from 1988. Faded carbon copy. The header read, "Emergency drum relocation, temporary storage. County authorization required." The invoice listed 3 parcels. Caleb's Ridge was one of them. At the bottom, someone had written in pen, "They knew. Ask Pinson." Mara looked at the street. No cars, no witnesses. She took the invoice inside and photographed it. Then she texted Caleb. "Someone just gave me an invoice from 88. Drum relocation, county authorization. Your ridge is on it." Caleb replied, "Who left it?" "I don't know," Mara texted back. "But someone inside wants the truth out." She sat at her kitchen table and studied the invoice. The word temporary appeared 3 times. 37 years later, the drums were still there. Tomas arrived at the ridge with rope and climbing gear. Caleb helped him sort hardware on the tailgate. "We're not going deep," Tomas said. "Just the shaft edge. I want to see how many drums there are." "Mara's coming," Caleb said. "Good," Tomas said. "We need 3 people. You belay. She documents. I descend." Mara's car appeared on the access road. She parked and walked over, carrying her camera and a headlamp. "State office confirmed they received our photos," she said. "Inspectors scheduled for next week." "Earl's sealing the hatch tomorrow," Caleb said. "Then we get footage today," Mara said. They walked to the hatch. Thomas inspected the limestone edge. A vertical shaft opened 10 feet from the hatch rim. Natural cave formation, widened by erosion. "I'll go down 20 feet, Thomas said. "Anchored. If the rock feels unstable, I come back up." Caleb secured the rope to an oak trunk. Thomas clipped in and backed to the shaft edge. Mara positioned herself with the camera. "On belay," Caleb said. "Descending," Thomas said. He dropped into the shaft. His headlamp beam swept the walls. Caleb fed rope through his hands. Mara filmed from above. "I see the chamber," Thomas called. "Ledge at 15 feet. Caleb counted the rope. 15 feet, 18, 20. "On the ledge," Thomas called. "What do you see?" Mara asked. "Drums," Thomas said. "A lot of them. Rusted. Some are leaking." Then the ledge cracked. Caleb heard it before he felt it, a sound that traveled through the rope into his hands. Limestone grinding. "Coming up!" Thomas shouted. Caleb braced. The rope jerked. Weight pulled hard. He dug his heels in and held. Thomas scrambled up the shaft wall. His boots kicked loose rock. Caleb pulled hand over hand. Mara dropped the camera and grabbed the rope behind him. Thomas emerged from the shaft and collapsed on solid ground. His shoulder hit hard. He rolled and gasped. "You okay?" Caleb asked. "Bruised," Thomas said. "The ledge split. I caught myself on the wall." Mara retrieved her camera. "Did you get a count?" Thomas sat up slowly. "At least 20 drums? Maybe more. The chamber goes deeper than my light reached." 20 drums, Caleb said. 50-gallon each, Thomas said. "That's 1,000 gallons, minimum." They sat at the shaft edge. Thomas checked his shoulder. Mara reviewed her footage. Caleb stared into the dark opening. "What was in those drums?" Caleb asked. "Industrial solvent, most likely," Thomas said. "Degreaser, cleaning agents, stuff the plant used on machinery." "For 3 years," Mara said. "The ledger covers 86 through 89. How much could they dump in 3 years?" "Depends on production volume," Thomas said. "A plant that size, thousands of gallons." Caleb felt sick. "And it's been leaking into the cave system for decades." "Into the spring," Mara said. "Into the creek. Into wells downstream." Thomas stood and unclipped from the rope. "That explains Ruth Ann's obituaries." They walked back to the trucks in silence. Caleb coiled the rope. Thomas packed his gear. Mara uploaded footage to her laptop. "Tomorrow they seal it," Caleb said. "Let them," Mara said. "The footage is already with the state, and now we have proof of how many drums are down there." Caleb looked at the ridge. His ridge. His wife's ridge. Contaminated ground that would never be clean. He felt grief bloom in his chest. The ridge was gone. Not sold, not lost. Just gone. "I'm leaving this place," he said. Mara looked up. "What?" "After this is over," Caleb said. "I'm selling, moving to town. I can't stay here knowing what's underneath." Thomas said nothing. Mara closed her laptop. "I understand," she said quietly. They drove away as the sun dropped behind the trees. The shaft remained open. The drums remained below. And somewhere in the dark, water carried the poison downstream. Earl Pinson returned to Caleb's gate on Friday evening. He carried a leather folder and wore a suit. "Mr. Rourke," Earl said, "I have a revised offer." "I'm not interested," Caleb said. "This one includes relocation assistance," Earl said. He opened the folder. "Ranch house on Elm Street, 3 bedrooms. County covers closing costs. You walk away clean." "Clean," Caleb said. "That's right," Earl said. "No hassle. No litigation. You sign today, you're out by the end of the month." "What about the drums?" Caleb asked. Earl's face hardened. "What drums?" "The ones in the cave," Caleb said. 20 of them, leaking into the spring." "I don't know what you're talking about," Earl said. Yes, you do, Caleb said. Your name is on the authorization. 1987. Temporary containment. Your signature. Earl closed the folder. You've been listening to gossip, old plant rumors, nothing substantiated. I have footage, Caleb said, and water samples, and your signed placard from the manifold. Earl stepped closer. Footage can be misinterpreted, samples can be contaminated during collection, and old maintenance placards don't prove anything. The state inspector will decide that, Caleb said. Earl's expression shifted. The polite mask dropped. What remained was cold calculation. The sawmill contract comes up for renewal next month, Earl said. Commissioner vote is 4-1. I control 3 votes. You're threatening my job, Caleb said. I'm reminding you of reality, Earl said. The mill employs 30 people. Their families depend on that contract. You want to put 30 families out of work over some old drums nobody can prove are even there? I can prove it, Caleb said. Can you? Earl asked. Because county maintenance sealed that hatch this morning. Permanent cap, concrete pad, no access. Caleb felt his chest tighten. You buried it. We secured a liability risk, Earl said. Standard procedure for abandoned infrastructure. Before the state could inspect it, Caleb said. The state has no jurisdiction over county utility maintenance, Earl said. We're within our rights. You're covering up a crime, Caleb said. Earl smiled. I'm protecting public property. There's a difference. He pulled a document from the folder. Non-disclosure agreement. You sign this, the buyout offer stands. You talk to reporters or state officials, the offer disappears, along with the sawmill contract. He set the photo en paper on the gate post. The signature line was blank. The rest was filled in. You have 24 hours, Earl said. He walked back to his truck. Caleb picked up the NDA. Legal language filled 3 pages. Confidentiality, non-disparagement, indemnification. At the bottom was a number, twice the assessed value, enough to relocate, enough to stay quiet. Caleb tore the paper in half. Get off my property, he said. Earl stopped at his truck door. You're making a mistake. No, Caleb said. You made the mistake 30 years ago. I'm just making sure people know about it. Earl got in his truck and drove away. Caleb stood at the gate holding the torn NDA. His hands shook. Inside, he called Mara. They sealed the hatch, he said. Concrete pad. Earl said the state has no jurisdiction. He's lying, Mara said. Environmental contamination is federal jurisdiction. The state can override county maintenance. What do we do? Caleb asked. We send everything to the EPA, Mara said. Tonight. Footage, photos, water samples, the ledger, the invoice. Everything. Earl threatened the sawmill contract, Caleb said. Silence on the line. Then Mara spoke. Are you backing out? She asked. No, Caleb said. I just wanted you to know what it's going to cost. I know what it costs, Mara said. I lost my job 3 days ago. But if we stop now, those drums stay buried, and people keep getting sick. Caleb looked at the torn NDA on his table. The ridge outside his window. The sewing room where the wardrobe waited. Send it all, he said. Tonight. Already started, Mara said. Caleb woke to his truck alarm screaming. He ran outside in bare feet. Both side mirrors were smashed. The word snitch was keyed across the driver's door. He shut off the alarm. The street was empty. No cars, no witnesses. His phone rang. Tomas. You need to come to the spring, Tomas said. Now. Caleb pulled on boots and drove the damaged truck to the access road. Tomas waited at the spring pavilion. His face was pale. What happened? Caleb asked. Tomas pointed. A dead dog lay at the water's edge. German shepherd, no collar, throat cut. Found it 10 minutes ago, Tomas said. Someone left it here during the night. Caleb felt sick. Message. Yeah, Tomas said. A clear one. Mara's car appeared on the road. She parked and walked over. When she saw the dog, she stopped. "Jesus," she said. "We need to call Murdoch," Tomas said. Caleb pulled out his phone and dialed. Murdoch answered on the second ring. "Deputy, it's Caleb Rourke," Caleb said. "Someone killed a dog at the spring, left it as a warning." "I'll be there in 10 minutes, Murdoch said. They waited by the pavilion. Rain started again, soft and steady. The dog lay unmoving at the water's edge. Murdoch arrived with a camera and evidence bags. He photographed the scene from multiple angles. Then he crouched beside the dog. "No collar," Murdoch said. "Looks like a clean cut. Professional." "Someone's sending a message," Mara said. "I figured that out," Murdoch said. He stood and looked at Caleb. "This happened after you turned down Earl's offer?" "Last night," Caleb said. Murdoch wrote in his notebook. "And your truck?" "Vandalized this morning," Caleb said. "Witnesses?" Murdoch asked. "No," Caleb said. Murdoch closed the notebook. "I'll file the report, but without witnesses or evidence, there's not much I can do." "You know who did this," Mara said. "I know who benefits from you being scared," Murdoch said. "That's not the same as proof." He pulled a business card from his pocket and handed it to Caleb. On the back, someone had written a fax number. "State Environmental Office," Murdoch said quietly. "Direct line to the Enforcement Division. They move faster than the EPA." "You're helping us," Caleb said. "I'm giving you public information," Murdoch said. "What you do with it is your business." He walked to his cruiser. Then he stopped and turned back. "Record everything tonight," he said. "Whatever you have left. Send it to that number, the window's closing." "Why tonight?" Mara asked. "Because the county's filing an injunction tomorrow," Murdoch said. "Trying to block state access to the ridge. They'll cite property rights and county sovereignty." "Can they do that?" Caleb asked. "For a few days, maybe," Murdoch said. "But if the state has documentation before the injunction files, they can move on emergency authority." "Thank you," Caleb said. Murdoch got in his cruiser. "I didn't hear anything. You didn't hear anything. We just talked about a dead dog." He drove away. Rain fell harder. Tomas and Caleb buried the dog in the woods beyond the pavilion. Mara documented everything with her camera. When they finished, Caleb stood at the spring and looked downstream. The water ran brown with runoff. Somewhere beneath the ridge, the drums leaked, the manifold vented, the poison spread. "We send everything tonight," Caleb said. "Everything," Mara said. They drove back through the rain. The ridge waited. The sealed hatch waited. And somewhere in the dark, someone watched. Mara traced the contractor name from the 1988 invoice to a dissolved LLC. The registered address matched a storage facility on the county line. "It's been closed for years," she said. "But the property owner still has the original units." "Can we get access?" Caleb asked. "I called," Mara said. "Told him I was doing historical research. He said most units were cleared out in the 90s, but a few still have boxes." They drove to the facility at sunset. A chain-link fence surrounded rows of metal units. The owner met them at the gate with keys. "Unit 17, he said. "Haven't opened it in 15 years. Whatever's in there, you can have it." He unlocked the unit and rolled up the door. Cardboard boxes lined the back wall. Dust covered everything. Mara pulled on gloves and opened the nearest box. Carbon copy. Receipts filled the interior. Faded, but legible. "Load tickets," she said. "Dates, tonnage, parcel codes." Caleb opened another box. More receipts, manifests, disposal authorizations, all stamped with the co-op plant logo. "These match the ledger," Caleb said. Mara photographed each document. Caleb sorted them by date. The tickets spanned 1986 through 1989. 3 years of continuous dumping. One ticket showed Caleb's parcel code. Tonnage, 2,400 gallons. Date, November 1988. Authorization signature, E. Pinson. He signed for everything, Mara said. He was co-op manager, Caleb said. Then he ran for commissioner 6 months later. After the plant closed, Mara said. After the dumping stopped. They worked in silence. The storage unit smelled of old paper and rust. Outside, a truck idled in the parking lot. Caleb looked through the door. A white pickup sat across the road. Engine running. No one inside that he could see. "We need to move fast," Caleb said. Mara scanned the last box of tickets. Caleb loaded everything into his truck bed and covered it with a tarp. The owner locked the unit behind them. "You find what you needed?" the owner asked. "Yes," Mara said. "Thank you." They drove back to town. The white pickup followed at a distance. 2 turns. 3. It stayed behind them. "We're being tailed," Caleb said. Mara looked in the side mirror. "How long?" "Since the storage facility," Caleb said. He pulled into a gas station. The pickup drove past slowly. Caleb saw the driver's face, county maintenance uniform, radio antenna on the roof. "They're tracking us," Mara said. "Let them," Caleb said. "The documents are already photographed. They can't take what we've already sent." "We haven't sent them yet," Mara said. Caleb looked at her. "Then we do it now. Here, before we go anywhere else." Mara opened her laptop in the passenger seat. She uploaded scans to the state fax line Murdoch had provided. The progress bar crawled across the screen. The white pickup circled back. It parked at the far end of the lot. "Come on," Mara said. The upload finished. She closed the laptop. "Sent, all of it." Caleb started the truck. They drove out of the lot. The pickup followed again. "Where are we going?" Mara asked. "The ridge," Caleb said. "If they're watching us anyway, we might as well document what's left to see." The pickup stayed behind them all the way to the access road. Ruth Ann opened her door before Caleb could knock. She looked older than she had 3 days ago. "I heard about the dog," she said. "Word travels," Caleb said. "In a county this small, everything travels," Ruth Ann said. She stepped aside. "Come in." Caleb entered. The house smelled of coffee and old books. Ruth Ann led him to the kitchen table. A file box sat open in front of her chair. "I told you I kept obituaries," she said. "I didn't tell you everything." She pulled a ledger from the box. Smaller than Uncle Whit's. Handwritten entries filled the pages. "After my husband died, I started tracking medical bills," Ruth Ann said. "How much insurance covered? How much we owed? How much disappeared?" She opened the ledger. 6 months after his diagnosis, the County Assistance Fund paid $11,000. Direct payment to the hospital, no application required, no paperwork, just a letter saying we qualified for emergency relief. "Did you ask why?" Caleb asked. "I tried," Ruth Ann said. "They told me it was discretionary funding for families in crisis. I accepted it because we needed it." She turned pages. More entries appeared. Names, dates, payment amounts. "Then I heard similar stories," Ruth Ann said. "Plant families getting help, always medical bills, always quiet. I started writing them down." Caleb counted the entries. 19 families. Total payments exceeded $200,000. "This is hush money," he said. "I didn't see it that way then," Ruth Ann said. "I saw it as compassion, county taking care of its own." "And now?" Caleb asked. "Now I see it as buying silence," Ruth Ann said. "People who might ask questions didn't ask, because the county had already helped them. Who complains about the hand that fed them?" She closed the ledger. "My husband signed disposal orders. He knew what was in those drums. When he got sick, he never said a word. And I accepted money that kept me quiet too." "You didn't know," Caleb said. I suspected, Ruth Ann said. I just didn't want to know for certain. There's a difference. Caleb looked at the ledger. Can I photograph this? Take it, Ruth Ann said. I'm done carrying it. She pushed the ledger across the table. Caleb picked it up carefully. Your wife taught at the Spring Pavilion, Ruth Ann said. Summer reading programs, 3 years before she got sick. Caleb felt his throat tighten. I know. I'm sorry, Ruth Ann said. I should have said something years ago. But I was protecting my husband's memory and protecting myself from knowing I'd been bought. You're saying something now, Caleb said. Too late for most people, Ruth Ann said. But maybe not too late for the ones still drinking from that spring. Caleb stood. He held the ledger against his chest. Thank you. Don't thank me, Ruth Ann said. Just make sure people know, all of it, what the county did and what we let them do. Caleb walked to his truck. The white pickup was gone. He set Ruth Ann's ledger beside Uncle Whit's and drove to Mara's house. She met him at the door. What did Ruth Ann say? She gave me a record of county payoffs, Caleb said. 19 families, 200,000 in medical payments, all plant workers or people near the spring. Mara took the ledger. She read the first page and closed her eyes. My father's name is here, she said. 15,000, 1996. I'm sorry, Caleb said. He died of kidney failure, Mara said. 2 years after the payment. I thought it was just bad luck. She opened her eyes. It wasn't luck. It was the water. And the county knew. They paid people to stay quiet about dying. Caleb said nothing. Mara set the ledger on her table and photographed every page. This goes to the state tonight, she said, along with everything else. Agreed, Caleb said. They worked until midnight, scanning, uploading, building the case that should have been built 30 years ago. When they finished, Mara leaned back in her chair. My father was part of this, she said. He accepted money. He stayed quiet. He was dying, Caleb said. And he let other people die too, Mara said. By not speaking up, by taking the money and saying nothing. You're speaking up now, Caleb said. It doesn't bring him back clean, Mara said, or anyone else. Outside, rain started again. The storm that had paused for 2 days returned. Deputy Murdoch caught Caleb at the gas station Saturday morning. He pulled alongside and rolled down his window. You need to hear this, Murdoch said. Caleb walked to the cruiser. Murdoch looked tired. County's padlocking your gate Monday, Murdoch said. Work zone designation. Emergency order. You won't be able to access your own property. Can they do that? Caleb asked. They're doing it, Murdoch said. Commissioner vote passed 4-1 last night. Emergency session. What's the emergency? Caleb asked. Unstable ground conditions following heavy rain, Murdoch said. Public safety risk. They're citing sinkholes and cave instability. They're locking me out before the state can inspect, Caleb said. That's my read, Murdoch said. But I'm just the deputy who has to enforce it. Caleb leaned against the cruiser. How much time do I have? 48 hours, Murdoch said. After that, I'll be the one changing your locks. Can you slow it down? Caleb asked. I can't stop a commissioner vote, Murdoch said, but I can make sure the paperwork takes its time getting filed. He pulled a folded paper from his jacket. This is a fax confirmation. State Environmental Office. They received everything you sent. Inspector's been dispatched. ETA Monday afternoon. After the gate's locked, Caleb said. Unless you document everything tonight, Murdoch said. On record, with witnesses. Then the state has cause to override county jurisdiction. You want us to go back to the hatch, Caleb said. I want you to record whatever's left to record, Murdoch said, while you still have access. In the rain, Caleb said. In the rain, Murdoch said. Because after Monday that ridge belongs to the county, and Earl will make sure no one ever sees what's under it. Caleb looked at the fax confirmation. State seal, official letterhead, inspector's name and badge number. "Thank you," Caleb said. "I'm not helping you," Murdoch said. "I'm following procedure. There's a difference." He drove away. Caleb called Mara. "Tonight," he said. "We film everything. Last chance." "I'll get Tomas," Mara said. "And bring rain gear," Caleb said. "This storm's not stopping." He hung up and drove to the sawmill. The foreman met him at the office. "Commissioner's office called," the foreman said. "Contract review's been moved up. Next week instead of next month." "They're squeezing me," Caleb said. "They're squeezing all of us," the foreman said. "Crew's asking questions. They know something's happening." "Tell them the truth," Caleb said. "There's contamination on the ridge. The county's covering it up. I'm trying to stop them." The foreman looked out the window. "And if we lose the contract?" "Then we lose it," Caleb said. "But people need to know what they're drinking." "Some people don't want to know," the foreman said. "I did," Caleb said, "and now I can't unknow it." He left the office and drove home. The afternoon stretched. Rain drummed the roof. He packed gear for the night: lights, camera, rope, rain jacket. At 6, Mara called. "Tomas is in. We meet at the ridge at 8, after dark." "Why after dark?" Caleb asked. "Because the white pickup's been parked on your access road since noon," Mara said. "They're watching. We wait until they get bored." Caleb looked out his window. The pickup sat 100 yards down the road. Engine off. Driver inside. "Understood," Caleb said. He ate dinner without tasting it. The wardrobe stood in the sewing room. Silent witness. He wondered if Uncle Whit had known this day would come. At 7:30, the white pickup drove away. Caleb watched until the taillights disappeared. Then he loaded his truck and drove to the ridge. Mara and Thomas waited in the dark. Rain soaked them all within minutes. "Let's get this done," Thomas said. They walked toward the hatch. Lightning flashed over the trees. Thunder followed close. The storm had returned, and beneath it, the ridge waited to give up its secrets. Rain hammered the ridge. Water ran in sheets down the slope toward the sinkhole. Caleb led with a flashlight. Mara followed with the camera in a waterproof case. Tomas brought rope and his gas monitor. They reached the sealed hatch. Concrete covered the steel surface. Fresh pour. County contractor had worked fast. "They really buried it," Mara said. "The shaft's still open," Tomas said. "We can film from there." They moved to the limestone shaft. Water poured into the opening. The cave below roared. "System's overloaded," Tomas said. "Storm's pushing too much water through. The cave can't drain it fast enough." "Can we get down there?" Caleb asked. "Not safely," Tomas said. "Water pressure's too high. One wrong step and you're in the current." Lightning split the sky. In the flash, Caleb saw something at the shaft edge. A steel pipe, corroded, bent upward by pressure. "There," he said. Mara aimed her camera. The pipe emerged from the shaft wall. Old manifold plumbing, connected to the buried hatch system. "Get the serial number," Caleb said. Mara zoomed in. Water sprayed the lens. She wiped it and tried again. A metallic bang echoed from below, then another. Something loose in the cave system. Drums shifting with the water pressure. "We need to see down there," Caleb said. "Not happening," Tomas said. "The current will take you." "Then I go on rope," Caleb said. "You belay. I get footage and come back up." "Caleb," Mara started. "We're running out of time," Caleb said. "Monday the gate locks. This is our last shot." Tomas looked at the shaft. Water thundered below. He checked his rope and anchor points. 10 feet down," he said. "That's all. You see what you can see? Then you come up. No arguments." Caleb clipped into the harness. Mara gave him a waterproof camera. He turned on the light and backed to the shaft edge. "On belay," Tomas said. "Descending," Caleb said. He dropped into the shaft. Water hit him immediately, cold and fast. The rope jerked as Tomas managed the tension. 5 feet, 7, 10. The chamber opened below. Caleb's light swept the space. Drums lined the walls. Rust, corrosion. One had split open. Black liquid seeped from the crack. He filmed everything. Drum serials, manufacturer stamps, the manifold connection. Then the ground beneath him shifted. Not limestone, silt, water-saturated, liquefying under his weight. "Coming up," Caleb shouted. He felt the pull. The rope tightened, but his boots sank. Silt grabbed his ankles. Another drum banged below, loose in the current, moving. Caleb pushed against the shaft wall. His hands found purchase on rock. He climbed. The rope hauled him upward. Tomas pulled hard. Mara grabbed Caleb's jacket and helped drag him over the edge. He collapsed on solid ground, gasping, shaking. "You okay?" Mara asked. "Got the footage," Caleb said. Thunder crashed overhead. The shaft roared. Water surged up through the opening and spread across the ground. "The system's backing up," Tomas said. "We need to move." They ran for higher ground. Behind them, water rose in the shaft and flooded across the hatch site. At the trucks, they stopped and looked back. Water covered the sealed hatch. The cave was drowning. "Jesus," Mara said. Caleb checked the camera. The footage was intact. Drums, cereals, the split container, everything. But his hands shook. His chest hurt. For a moment down there, he had believed the ridge would take him, that the poison would claim one more. "Are you hurt?" Tomas asked. "No," Caleb said. "Just scared." "Good," Tomas said. "Fear keeps you alive." They sat in Caleb's truck with the heater running. Rain pounded the windshield. Mara reviewed the footage on the camera screen. "We have it," she said. "Clear images, drum serials, manufacturer data, the manifold connection to the sealed hatch." "Is it enough?" Caleb asked. "It's everything," Mara said. They drove down from the ridge in convoy. The white pickup was back on the access road. Engine running, watching. Caleb didn't care anymore. The footage was recorded. The evidence was gathered. The ridge had tried to take him and failed. Monday the gate would lock, but by then the state would have everything they needed. Earl Pinson arrived at dawn with 2 men and a clipboard. Caleb met them at the gate. Mara and Tomas stood behind him. "This is county business," Earl said. "You need to step aside." "This is private property," Caleb said. "You need a warrant." "I have an emergency order," Earl said. He held up the clipboard. "Work zone designation, signed by 4 commissioners. Your access is suspended pending safety assessment." "What safety assessment?" Mara asked. "Sinkhole instability," Earl said. "Ground collapse risk. We're protecting you from your own property." "You're protecting your cover-up," Caleb said. Earl's expression hardened. "You need to leave. Now." "Or what?" Caleb asked. A sheriff's cruiser pulled up. Deputy Murdoch stepped out. He walked slowly, deliberately. His hand rested on his belt. "Problem here?" Murdoch asked. "These people are interfering with county operations," Earl said. "I see 3 people standing on private property," Murdoch said. "Where's the interference?" "They're blocking access to a designated work zone," Earl said. "I don't see any workers," Murdoch said. "I see a commissioner with a clipboard. That's not county operations. That's a property dispute." Earl turned to face Murdoch. "Deputy, I'm ordering you to clear these people from the gate." "On what authority?" Murdoch asked. "County emergency powers," Earl said. "Which require imminent danger to public safety," Murdoch said. "I don't see any imminent danger. I see rain and mud, same as every other ridge in the county." Earl stepped closer to Murdoch. "You're refusing a direct order." I'm clarifying jurisdiction, Murdoch said. Property disputes require court orders. You have a court order? It's being filed this morning, Earl said. Then come back when you have it, Murdoch said. Earl's two men shifted. One reached for his phone. Earl held up a hand to stop him. This isn't over, Earl said. No, Caleb said. It's not. Mara pulled out her phone. She opened an app and pressed send. What are you doing? Earl asked. Sending a packet to the State Environmental Office, Mara said, and to the regional newspaper, and to the EPA federal hotline. You're bluffing, Earl said. Check your email, Mara said. I copied you. All the evidence. Photos, videos, ledgers, load tickets, Ruth Ann's payment records. Everything. Earl pulled out his phone. His face drained of color as he scrolled. This is fabricated, he said. It's documented, Mara said, with timestamps, GPS coordinates, chain of custody, all admissible. You doctored these images, Earl said. Then explain the placard with your signature, Caleb said. The one still attached to the manifold you just buried in concrete. Earl looked at his men. Neither moved. They had seen the our emails too. The state inspector arrives at 2 p.m., Mara said. Federal oversight by end of week. You can delay it, but you can't stop it. Earl's hand shook. The phone nearly slipped. He steadied himself and straightened. You have no idea what you've done, he said. I know exactly what I've done, Caleb said. I've stopped you from poisoning people for another 30 years. Earl walked to his truck. His men followed. They drove away without speaking. Murdoch remained at the gate. He looked at Caleb. You really sent everything? Murdoch asked. Everything, Mara said. Then I'd suggest you three find somewhere safe to wait, Murdoch said, because Earl's going to try one more play before the state gets here. What kind of play? Tomas asked. The kind that makes evidence disappear, Murdoch said, or witnesses. He wouldn't, Mara said. Desperate men do desperate things, Murdoch said. He got in his cruiser. I'll patrol the access road, but I can't be everywhere. He drove away slowly. Caleb locked his gate and turned to the others. We stay together until the inspector arrives, he said. Agreed, Mara said. They walked back to Caleb's house. Inside, they waited. The rain continued. The clock ticked toward 2 p.m. At 1:30, Caleb's phone rang. State Environmental Office. Mr. Rourke, the voice said. Inspector Wells, I'm en route. ETA 45 minutes. Can you provide site access? Yes, Caleb said. I'll meet you at the gate. Understood, Wells said. And Mr. Rourke? Thank you for the documentation. It's the most complete contamination report I've seen in 20 years. The line went dead. Caleb looked at Mara and Tomas. Inspector's coming, he said. Then we finish this, Mara said. They drove to the gate together and waited for the state to arrive. Inspector Wells was a woman in her 50s with gray hair and mud boots. She arrived with 2 technicians and a van full of equipment. Mr. Rourke? She asked. Yes, ma'am, Caleb said. Show me the site, she said. They walked to the ridge. Rain had softened to drizzle. Wells carried a tablet and a camera. Her technicians brought soil samplers and water collection kits. At the sealed hatch, Wells knelt and photographed the concrete. Fresh pour, she said. Less than 48 hours old. County sealed it Friday, Caleb said. Without notifying state oversight, Wells said. That's a violation, especially after receiving contamination reports. She stood and walked to the shaft. Water still pooled at the rim. She photographed the exposed manifold pipe. How deep is the chamber? She asked. 20 feet, Tomas said. Maybe more. We couldn't measure it fully. And you filmed drums? Wells asked. Yes, Caleb said. He handed her the camera. Serials, manufacturer stamps, everything. Wells reviewed the footage. Her jaw tightened. 50-gallon drums, industrial waste, rusted through. This is a federal Superfund case. Can you stop it? Mara asked. I can designate it an imminent hazard, Wells said. That triggers emergency authority. The county can't block us after that. Thunder rolled overhead. The drizzle strengthened. Wells looked at the sky. We need to mark the downstream contamination point, she said, before the rain washes away evidence. The spring, Caleb said, a quarter-mile down. They walked to the spring together. The water ran brown and fast. Wells sampled the flow. Her test strips showed elevated chemicals immediately. Petroleum hydrocarbons, she said, volatile organics, heavy metals, all above safe limits. She photographed the pavilion, the playground, the picnic tables, all empty now because of the rain. How many people use this spring? She asked. Hundreds, Mara said. It's the main recreation site for the county. Wells called someone on her phone. I need immediate closure signage, yellow tape, warning placards. This site is contaminated. She hung up. My team will post warnings within the hour. The spring is closed until remediation. A drum bang echoed from the ridge, distant but clear. They all turned. The storm's shifting them, Tomas said. Wells looked at Caleb. I need to see the chamber, now, before more drums rupture. It's not safe, Tomas said. Water pressure's too high. I have climbing gear, Wells said, and authority. Let's go. They returned to the shaft. Wells' technicians set up lights and rope systems. She geared up and prepared to descend. Another bang from below, then a hiss. Pressure releasing. One's opening, Wells said. We're out of time. She descended into the shaft. Her headlamp swept the chamber. The radio on her belt crackled. I count 23 drums, she said. Multiple leaks, one fresh rupture, contents actively draining into the cave system. Can you get the serial? Caleb asked. Got it, Wells said. And the manufacturer's stamp. Chlorinated solvent. Banned since 1991. This is exactly what we needed. She climbed back up. Her face was grim. This site needs immediate containment, she said. We're talking years of remediation, millions in cleanup costs, and criminal prosecution for whoever authorized this. Earl Pinson, Mara said. I have his signature on multiple documents, Wells said, including the authorization placard you filmed. That's Exhibit A in a federal case. She pulled off her gloves. I'm declaring this an emergency Superfund site, effective immediately. The county no longer has jurisdiction. Everything goes through EPA oversight. Caleb felt something release in his chest. Not relief. Grief. What happens to the property? He asked. It gets condemned, Wells said. No residential use, no agriculture, no water access. The contamination is too widespread. I'm losing the ridge, Caleb said. I'm sorry, Wells said, but you saved dozens of lives by reporting this, maybe hundreds. She walked back to her van. Caleb stood at the shaft edge. The ridge stretched below him, his wife's land, her dream home, the place they had built together, gone, not sold, not destroyed, just poisoned beyond saving. Mara touched his shoulder. You did the right thing. I know, Caleb said, but it still hurts. Tomas coiled the rope. You're alive, that's what matters. My wife isn't, Caleb said quietly. She drank from that spring for years. No one answered. There was nothing to say. The poison had taken what it had taken. Time didn't give it back. They walked to the trucks. Wells' team stayed behind to mark the site. Yellow tape, warning signs, federal jurisdiction. Caleb drove away without looking back. The ridge waited behind him. Silent. Still. Contaminated forever. State environmental officers arrived at dawn. 6 vehicles, 20 personnel, equipment trucks and sampling rigs. They secured the ridge with fencing and hazard tape. Caleb met them at his gate. Inspector Wells led the group. "We're taking full site control," she said. "County access is suspended pending federal investigation." "What do you need from me?" Caleb asked. "Your statement," Wells said, "and copies of all documentation you collected. Original ledgers, if possible." "They're at my house," Caleb said. "We'll send someone to collect them," Wells said. "Chain of custody protocol. Everything needs to be officially logged." A county truck pulled up. Earl Pinson stepped out. 2 lawyers flanked him. "This is county property," Earl said. "You're trespassing." "This is a federal Superfund site," Wells said. "You no longer have jurisdiction." "We haven't transferred authority," Earl said. "You don't get to transfer it," Wells said. "EPA takes authority when imminent hazard conditions exist. Those conditions exist here." Earl's lawyer stepped forward. "We're filing an injunction. County sovereignty takes precedence over federal overreach." "File whatever you want," Wells said, "but this site stays under federal control. Judge will uphold it. They always do in contamination cases." "This is based on fabricated evidence," Earl said. He pointed at Caleb. "That man doctored documents and trespassed on county infrastructure." "Those documents match our field sampling," Wells said. "Chemical signatures, drum serials, timeline, everything corroborates." She pulled a folder from her bag. "We also have the original county maintenance logs, the ones you filed in 1987. They show routine access to this site for 30 years. Your signature appears on access authorizations dated as recently as last month." Earl's face paled. "Those logs are confidential county records." "They were," Wells said, "until Deputy Murdoch provided them under federal subpoena this morning, with the access logs, the maintenance schedules, and the contractor payments." She handed Earl a stapled packet. "This is your subpoena. Federal grand jury in St. Louis. 2 weeks. Bring your lawyer." Earl took the packet. His hands shook. The lawyers, beside him, said nothing. "This is a mistake," Earl said. "The mistake was made 30 years ago," Wells said. "We're just cleaning it up now." Earl walked back to his truck. His lawyers followed. They drove away in silence. Wells turned to Caleb. "Thank you for the documentation. Without it, we'd still be fighting for site access." "What happens now?" Caleb asked. "We excavate," Wells said. "Remove the drums, test the soil, map the contamination. Then we start remediation. It'll take years, maybe a decade." "And the people who got sick?" Mara asked. "Medical monitoring program," Wells said. "EPA will fund it. Anyone who lived near the spring gets free testing. Blood work, liver panels, cancer screening." "What about compensation?" Tomas asked. "That's civil court," Wells said. "But with federal prosecution backing it, most cases settle. Earl Pinson's looking at prison time. The county will want to avoid additional liability." She checked her tablet. "We'll need detailed statements from all 3 of you. Can you come to the field office this afternoon?" "Yes," Caleb said. Wells walked back to her team. They unloaded equipment and began setting up test stations. Professional, efficient, the machinery of accountability. Caleb stood at his gate and watched. The ridge belonged to the EPA now. Federal property, contaminated ground. His name no longer mattered there. Mara stood beside him. "You saved people." "I was too late to save my wife," Caleb said. "You can't think that way," Mara said. "I know," Caleb said. "But I do anyway." Deputy Murdoch's cruiser pulled up. He got out and walked over. "Heard you provided the access logs," Caleb said. "Federal subpoena," Murdoch said. "I don't have a choice when those arrive." "Thank you," Caleb said. "Don't thank me yet," Murdoch said. "Earl's going to fight this. He's got lawyers and county funds. It'll get ugly before it gets better." "Let it get ugly," Mara said. "We have the evidence." "Evidence doesn't always win," Murdoch said, "but it's a start." He got back in his cruiser and drove away. The morning sun broke through clouds. Light fell across the ridge. Yellow tape marked the boundaries. Warning signs stood at every approach. Caleb's property was gone. But the truth was visible now. Documented. Protected. Preserved. He walked back to his truck. Mara and Tomas followed. "What will you do now?" Tomas asked. "Pack," Caleb said. "Find a place in town. Start over." "That's not easy," Mara said. "No," Caleb said. "But it's honest." They drove away from the ridge together. Behind them, the EPA worked. The drums waited. And the land began the long process of healing. The wardrobe stood in a small exhibit at the County Historical Society. Glass case. Soft lighting. The false back had been removed and mounted beside it. A placard read, "Containment Evidence, 1980s Environmental Scandal, donated by Caleb Rourke." Caleb stood in front of the exhibit. 3 weeks had passed since the EPA took the ridge. Earl Pinson had been indicted on federal charges. The county faced a class action lawsuit, and the spring remained closed. Mara stood beside him. She had not returned to the clerk's office. Her administrative leave had become permanent separation. She didn't seem to mind. "Strange seeing it here," she said. "Uncle Whit built it to hide something," Caleb said. "Now it's showing everything." "He'd probably appreciate that," Mara said. They walked through the exhibit. Photos from the ridge, copies of the ledger, news articles about the investigation, all of it preserved under glass. A group of high school students filed past. Their teacher stopped them at the wardrobe. "This piece of furniture saved lives," the teacher said, because one person decided to look inside instead of ignoring what they found. The students took photos. They read the placards. They asked questions about the drums and the contamination. Caleb and Mara slipped out quietly. They walked to Caleb's truck in the parking lot. "Moving day?" Mara asked. "Tomorrow," Caleb said. "Rental's ready. Small place near the mill." "How do you feel about it?" Mara asked. "Tired," Caleb said. "Relieved. Sad." "All at once," Mara said. "Yeah," Caleb said. They drove to the ridge one last time. Federal fencing now blocked the gate. Warning signs covered every approach. Excavation equipment stood idle on the slope. Caleb parked outside the fence. They walked to the spring on foot. More warning signs. Yellow tape. Water testing stations. The spring still ran. But no one used it anymore. The pavilion stood empty. The playground equipment waited in silence. "They're saying 10 years minimum," Mara said, "before the water's safe again." "If it's ever safe," Caleb said. "The EPA seems confident," Mara said. "They're paid to be confident," Caleb said. They stood at the spring's edge. Water flowed clear over limestone. Beautiful. Deadly. The poison was invisible now, but the damage remained. "Your wife would be proud," Mara said. "I hope so," Caleb said. "She would," Mara said. "You chose truth over comfort. That's not easy." "It's still costing me," Caleb said. "Doing the right thing usually does," Mara said. Caleb looked at the ridge one last time. The trees, the limestone, the sinkholes, all of it familiar, all of it contaminated. He turned away and walked back to the truck. Mara followed. "What will you do now?" Caleb asked. "Find new work," Mara said. "Maybe archival consulting, something that lets me dig through old records without needing county approval." "You'd be good at that," Caleb said. "Maybe," Mara said. "What about you?" "Keep working the mill," Caleb said. "Pay rent. Try to sleep without dreaming about drums." They stood at the truck. The ridge waited behind them. Federal property now. Fenced, guarded, protected from the people who had poisoned it. "Thank you," Caleb said. "For what?" Mara asked. Believing? Me, Caleb said. When I showed you the ledger, you could have told me to leave it alone. I thought about it, Mara said. But my father's name was in there. I needed to know if he hurt people. And now you know, Caleb said. Now I know, Mara said, and I can live with it, because we stopped it from continuing. They drove away together. The ridge remained behind them, silent, still, waiting for remediation that would take years. Caleb thought about the wardrobe. Uncle Whit's secret, the compartment behind the false back, the documents that started everything. Sometimes saving a place meant losing it. Sometimes truth required sacrifice, and sometimes the right choice left nothing but honest ground to stand on. He drove toward town. The future waited there, small, uncertain, clean. That would have to be enough.